evening. What do you want to do tonight?
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Lazy Man's Way to Riches by Joe Karbo. Intro. How to manage your life. People don't want to blame things on themselves. They want other people to be held responsible for their lives. People get very angry at me because they're very unhappy, and they say, "Gee, if I only had the opportunity, if I only had the education." And I say, "Hey, those things don't really matter. You're responsible as of right now. You can change your life." Everything that's happened to me, I've brought about in one shape or form. I am in control of my life. After 12 years of working with Dynapsych, the core principle of the lazy man's way to riches, it still works. It still takes something to wrench yourself into the right attitudes, and the only thing that helps you is the belief that it will work for you too. I really think the most difficult thing in undertaking the program is the facing of yourself and saying, "I am the cause of all my effects." This particular approach is called How to Manage Your Life. You've been managing your life all along. The results reflect whether you've been a good manager, or bad manager, or an indifferent, just average manager. But you are in control of your life. You're running it right now. Most people fail to recognize this because it's so easy to say, "It's my boss's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's the government's fault. It's because I'm a minority. It's my wife's fault. It's the kids' fault. If only this were true. If only that were true." But of course, it's not. You can't change other people. You can change only your attitude towards them. Sometimes your change in attitude towards them and your expectations of them will lead to change as well. But the very hardest thing is the acceptance that Dynapsych will really work. We had an advantage over most when we started the program because we were broke. Worse than broke. We were in debt, at least $50,000 at the time. We were living in an old house. We had 8 of our kids with us at the time. We were driving a broken-down car. So we really had very little to lose and accepted the program. I figured it was desperation time. They say it will work. I'll try it. And we tried it, and we got some notable results really very quickly, which encouraged us to go on. Now, one thing I've noticed about people who write to me about the program is that they are setting high goals you stretch for. They have to be goals that are meaningful to you and are important to you. I've had people write to me with a goal of $5 million or whatever it is. That's fine if that's important to them. I think some people set up goals in order to set up another failure. They see themselves as victims. They expect themselves to fail. They want to fail again, so they set up a goal that's really far-fetched and absurd. They set them so high that they say, "See, I tried this program, and it didn't work either. That guy Karbo is a phony too. I tried it for 30 minutes, and it didn't work out." But I give you my word that it really works, if you work it. It is working now for untold thousands of others worldwide. Someone drew an analogy which I thought was perfect. Imagine 3 people in apartments, one adjoining the other, and the electricity has been off, and the electrician comes in and turns on the power. The person in the first apartment says, "Gee, I thought something was supposed to happen." Well, they forgot to screw in the light bulb. So they sat there and cursed the darkness. The people in the second apartment had the light bulb screwed in, and they said, "Gee, isn't that marvelous? Look, we have light now." They had the electricity on, and there was light. The people in the third apartment had television, air conditioning, a sewing machine, necessities, and joys of life. And they said, "Isn't it marvelous?" The power remains the same regardless of your utilization of that power. It's just whether you decide to plug in or not. Chapter 1. You're on your way. You are now on your way to having everything in the world you really want. Notice I say everything, not anything. There is an important difference. If someone were to give you anything in the world for which you might wish, the gift would automatically be limited, and far more would be withheld than would be given. Anything really means any one thing. If the world were someone's to give, you'd get a tiny fraction of it, and the giver would keep the rest. But to have everything is a promise without limitation. An important part of Dynapsych practice is the need to detect and be free of any limitation. When you hear that first sentence above, you may already have started to limit what this book can give you. It is important that you do not. Let's listen to that first sentence again. You are now on your way to having everything in the world you want. What was your reaction when you heard it? Did you start to reject the possibility of truth in that simple statement? Did your habit-conditioned mind automatically say, "Not me. No way. Is he kidding?" The strong possibility that you did just that is the reason we're dwelling on it at length. Only a fool would accept such a statement on absolute faith without any evidence whatsoever. But a wise man, free of deadly self-limitation, would merely ask, "How?" Don't be guilty of self-limitation. Don't reject the riches that can be yours by knowing or fearing you can't have them. Ask only, how? How can you have everything in the world you really want? Go with me through these pages step by step, and you will know. Can you forget self-limitation for the moment? Can you cast aside failure-oriented doubt long enough to try to learn how? That is all that is required of you at this step. You don't have to believe anything yet. But you must not disbelieve the possibility that Dynapsych, the lazy man's way to riches, just might work for you. What is Dynapsych? It is the code word I have found most fitting to use when referring to that collection of natural laws or truths which make up this fantastic success formula. Dyna, because it is indeed a dynamic concept, one which moves you forward with great energy to the achievement of any goal. It is a source of great power, like some giant dynamo creating endless energy. And psych, because of two sciences fundamental to the method. Psychology, about which we have learned so much in the last 75 years, and those far less understood natural laws we are barely beginning to understand through psychic research. Dynapsych, the programmed study and practice of achieving success by the planned application of important but little understood natural laws. There may be certain fundamental truths in this approach to Dynapsych which you have heard before, but now you will see even these familiar facts in a new light, and you will learn how to apply them to your problems. You knew there were automobiles long before you were old enough or skilled enough to drive or repair them. However, most of the things you will be learning will be new and perhaps even a little strange to you. To help you rid yourself of disbelief, let me remind you of what Dynapsych has done for me. To put this in its proper perspective, you have to be aware of my situation 11 years ago. I was out of a job. My wife and I and our 8 children were renting a ramshackle house in a deteriorating neighborhood. We were driving an old Falcon we'd had to refinance. We were $50,000 in debt. Under those circumstances, can you imagine how I felt when I was told that with Dynapsych, I could have everything I really wanted? I didn't believe it, but I had to admit that I had very little to lose, and maybe that's what saved me. I was desperate enough to try anything, even if it seemed foolish and ridiculously easy. So they were saying that I could have everything I really wanted. Well, I'd put it to the test. I'd set goals that were beyond my wildest dreams. As God is my witness, these are the goals I wrote out during those black days, and this is what happened. Goal: I own a $75,000 house on the water. Fact: 3 years later, I bought a home in a marina community for $75,700. With the improvements we added, it's now worth over $500,000. I know because I turned down an offer for that much. Goal: I drive a brand new black Thunderbird. Fact: within 30 days, I'd picked up an advertising account. It was a Ford agency. The manager said the Falcon I was driving was an embarrassment to the agency. He gave me a brand new black Thunderbird to drive. A few months later, I bought it. Goal: I earn $100,000 a year. Fact: last year, I made twice that much. Goal: I own several small, successful businesses. I leave the actual management to other capable people. Fact: I do. Goal: I own a boat just like Steve Martin's. Fact: for a couple of years, I had admired a boat that belonged to a friend of ours. Within 30 days, he phoned and told me he decided to sell it for a fraction of what he'd paid for it, and I could pay for it any way I wanted. It was so spooky that I accepted his offer. Now, we have 2 boats, and we paid cash for them. Goal: my bills are paid. Fact: that was really a tough one to say without feeling like an idiot. But contrary to my lawyer's advice, who thought I should declare bankruptcy, I had a meeting with creditors. I told them that I wanted to pay them back, but I couldn't concentrate on the effort with the fear that they'd attach my bank account every time I made a few bucks. They agreed to a repayment program that I felt I could live with. I never missed a payment, and a few years ago I paid off the balance in a lump sum. Now, in case you are afraid the truths of Dynapsych are somehow personal ones, producing rules that will work only for me, consider this. 7 years ago, I told a young man who sold me a boat dock about Dynapsych. I did so because we had become friends, and he told me that the company he was working for was going broke, and he'd be out of a job. His total assets were a half interest in a $350 motorcycle. He owed $102 to the bank for a loan. He'd never earned more than $10,000 a year. He dropped by my office the other day, showed me his original goals, and told me about his progress, every bit of which he credits to Dynapsych. He reached and surpassed every one of his goals and has set new ones. Original goal: a salary of $18,000 a year. Fact: he earns $40,000 a year and has stock options in the New York Stock Exchange listed company he works for. Original goal: ownership of a vacation hideaway. Fact: he owns a half interest in a $100,000 ranch. Original goal: to quit drinking. Fact: he did. Original goal: to own income property. Fact: he does. 2 duplexes. Original goal: to own speculative and growth stocks. Fact: he does. $30,000 worth. And there are lots of other people who have rebuilt their lives with the information I'm going to give you here. There's a widow in Chicago who's earned $25,000 a year for the past 5 years using my methods. The 70-year-old woman who's traveled all over the world making all the money she needs doing only what I taught her. The man who works a lot harder than I'm willing to do, who, using these same principles, made $11 million in 8 years. Fact: it's worked, without exception, for everyone who's tried it. I'll admit, until now, I haven't shared the secret of Dynapsych with too many people because most of the time, my only reward would be a patronizing smile. After all, I can see them saying to themselves, it couldn't be that easy. But it is. Perhaps you are wondering how so many people came to know of these natural laws and learned to take advantage of them. As long ago as the 1950s, key executives of highly successful, really big corporations began to be turned on to the very same truths you are about to receive. No one knows, or at least I have been unable to determine with accuracy, the names of the very first researchers into what might be called the scientific basis of success. But soon the various practitioners were carrying on a number of costly but highly effective classes, seminars, and private sessions. The price for such services was high, but the thousands of dollars which were paid by the blue-chip executives was a paltry fee for the immediate and spectacular success stories that resulted from the application of the secrets they had learned. Needless to say, as is always the secret with power, the men who were fortunate enough to have gained it were in no hurry to broadcast the news of it. They wanted to keep the powerful advantage they had received. So great was the desire for secrecy that most of these power sessions were carried on away from the executive towers of the corporate giants. Small groups journeyed to mountain or desert retreats for the closed meetings. The fees were so high that attendance was already limited to those top executives, but beyond that, only key people were even informed of the opportunity. Since those early days, research has continued. The truths which evolved were the result of putting together facts from every phase of human development. As the findings of this research were assembled, certain well-defined patterns of power making for certain success became evident. Those patterns explain why some must win, some must lose. But more importantly, the rules evolved from those patterns eliminate losing for those who follow them. Can you learn how to apply Dynapsych to your life? Indeed, you can. In the chapters that follow, you will learn things about yourself that you never knew until now. You are going to learn why you have not been more successful than you have. And, incidentally, learn why you did things which you later called yourself a fool for doing. Just as importantly, you are going to learn how to have other people striving to give you what you want. Never again will you look at a particularly successful person and sigh, "How lucky he is," because you will know that luck or fate has absolutely nothing to do with success or failure. What we call luck is, in fact, a direct result of the correct or incorrect application of natural laws anyone can use effectively if he knows how. Remember, the power to make things happen the way you want them to happen has always been available. You aren't going to have to create some new source of power within yourself. You are merely going to plug in to the existing power. The forces of Dynapsych are very much like electricity. No man invented electricity. It existed in nature. But until man learned how to make use of the already existing natural phenomenon, he had no electric lights to turn night into day. Now, any man can perform that miracle with a flick of a switch. He knows how to plug in to the electricity. You are going to learn to do this same thing with yet another natural power source. But just as electricity can serve man when handled properly and injure him if mishandled, the forces of Dynapsych are raw power and can work for your good or your ill, depending on how they are utilized. There is every chance that you will learn as you study that you have been causing your own failures through misuse of powers you did not even know you had. But you have taken the important first step to undoing past mistakes and creating a whole new life for yourself, the lazy man's way. What represents success to you? Your answer would probably be similar to someone else's, but surely not identical. It should cover all the things which you feel make for success in your life: work, health, possession, love. For some, tranquility. For others, excitement. It isn't important how your view of success is different. But scientific evaluation and research show us that it is important for you to know what you really want out of life. Part of the work ahead of you will concern itself with an exact answer to that question of your desires. Why? Why do you have to have a specific inventory of what you want? Because surveys show that no 2 people out of 1,000 know what they want from life or have definite plans for achieving their desires. The same surveys show that people who do have such plans are able to make life pay off on their own terms. Why this is an important factor will be one of the things you'll learn, together with how to effectively create the plan. But a specific plan is only one of the factors in the success of truly successful people. Here's a list of some of the other things that come to mind when we think of a person's success. From the list, select what you feel is the other quality all real successes have in common. 1. Luck, the breaks. 2. Family background. 3. Social achievement. 4. Basic intelligence. 5. Education advantage. 6. Good health. 7. Enthusiasm. 8. Winning personality. 9. Real determination. 10. Plenty of financing. Take time to examine those choices carefully before you move on. You're wrong. For the sake of helping you learn a truth which is essential to your acceptance of the natural laws that lie ahead, you've been tricked. The correct answer, the other quality that all really successful people have in common, was not listed. Think of that for a moment. Doesn't the list include every factor we're accustomed to think of when we think of success? Isn't the essential quality there? No. Many people have had combinations of the qualities listed above and have failed miserably. Yet, people suffering severe handicaps of bad luck, poor beginnings, little formal education, ill health, shyness, and only a shoestring on which to begin have been preeminently successful. What is that second quality common to all really successful people? What is the second step after knowing what you want and having a concrete plan for getting it? The ability to use effectively whatever asset you have. Every successful person has overcome his drawbacks by making effective use of whatever time, energy, money, ideas, etc. he possessed. They knew it wasn't what you had that counted, but how effectively you used it. A learned man once wrote that there were really only 3 kinds of failures. Failure type 1. Well-defined goals, ineffective pursuit of them. This is the man who knows where he wants to go, but never quite gets there. Failure type 2. Pushes hard, uses every asset, no well-defined goals. This man is like a powerful ship without a rudder. He always seems to be making great headway, but never arrives. Failure type 3 is the saddest of the lot. He has neither well-defined goals, nor is he effective. Whatever your pattern has been in the past, whatever has caused your drives for success to fall short of your desires, your answer lies within these pages. Think of your position at this time as though you were the owner of a palatial ocean-going yacht, and I am the captain you have hired. The ship is yours. The choice of where you go is yours. My job is to first suggest the possible destinations, and then, when you have made your choice, to lay out a course that will take you there. That course must steer clear of any hazard that might prevent our safe and speedy arrival. Since you will want to sail your own ship as soon as possible, we will see to it that you learn everything you need to know on this voyage. You will be your own captain long before we finish. In other words, Dynapsych promises you the assistance in selecting the specific goals which are a prime requisite for success, and then shows you how you can achieve the effectiveness which will take you there. What is expected of you? What must you do in order to make the transition to the successful person you could be? Very little when you measure the reward against the effort required attaining it. That's why I call this the lazy man's way. However, because so little is required of you, it does not follow that you can be lazy or haphazard in doing what is required. Quite the opposite. It is important that you perform in order to have all the benefits that Dynapsych can bring you. But the tasks are not numerous or difficult. You have only to RSVP to this invitation to wealth, success, and satisfaction. RSVP. Read, study, visualize, perform. As you go forward in the program, think of RSVP in these terms. Read. I must read in order to learn the secrets that will make my life easier, my success in every field of endeavor certain. How else but by reading can I receive the truths that come from the natural laws expressed by Dynapsych? But if I only read, I cannot really learn. I did not learn my lessons in school by merely reading them in the same way that I read the daily paper. Therefore, I must study. I must study these things I read. I must apply myself, mind, ideas, thoughts to the substance of the words I read. By doing this, I will begin to make the power of Dynapsych grow within me. That power comes from understanding, and to understand anything more than the simplest things, one must study. Once I am building that power, I will need to apply it to my life situations. I will need clear outlines or blueprints of when, where, and how to apply the newfound power. For this, I will have to visualize. I must cultivate the capacity to visualize in concrete form everything I read and study. I must learn to take a mental or written suggestion and be able to project it like a motion picture on the hidden screen of my mind's eye. I must really see those suggestions, those plans, those goals, in solid form in my mind's eye. Then they can be mine. In fact, through Dynapsych, visualization is far more than mere imagination. It is always more complete, more detailed. In short, it has the effect of adding the potential of reality to the unsatisfying dream that is imagination. The man who creates a new and important invention often starts with mere imagination, a dream. But as his mind ponders the idea, he begins to visualize with an ever-increasing exactness of detail. He begins to see his invention almost as though it were physically present in front of him. This I must do. It is not easy at first, but the unfolding of the program contained in these pages will provide many ways to help me visualize and turn dreams into reality. I can reach that plateau of ability if I perform. The manner in which I perform is all outlined in great detail in the chapters which lie ahead. I have only to promise myself that I will try the outlined steps. The success factor is already built into each step. This means the scientific bases of achievement have been studied and analyzed for me in order to create Dynapsych. I have only to perform the basic, simple steps outlined by reading, studying, visualizing, and then performing. When this RSVP is complete, success must be mine.